Okay, so it seems there is more evidence on the David case, the D4VD case, the D4VD case, the D4VD case, the David case. That guy. It seems there's more evidence on his case that pretty much ends it. So here, we got a video here by Legal Mindset. Let me show you, bro. Come on. Let's get into this.
Singer David is absolutely done. As we look today at his criminal
him.
case, of course, the Legal Mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and we're going to get into this case today. So let's start here. Of course, we have the defendant in this case, David Anthony Burke. He's a famous singer for those that don't know, and obviously he is now on trial. You see him here in the actual court when these proceedings were going down.
It almost looks like it almost looks like a movie scene, to be honest. I ain't gonna lie. Every time I saw this, I was like, is that a scene from an upcoming movie? What's going on here? What movie is this? That's not a trailer for a movie. That's David.
Just the other day. So looking at this case, this is a very, very heinous situation with some very serious facts. So
Damn,
my
bro,
opening
you
statement.
killed your
14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, her remains were found in September of 2025 in the trunk of David's abandoned Tesla. He was arrested in April 16, 2026 and charged with murder, continuous abuse of a child under 14, and mutilation of the body. He has pled not guilty and he has been held without bail. Now, this is a...
Yeah, that's what he did. In case you forgot, you know what I'm saying? He was dating an underage girl, and then she went missing. They found her in his trunk, in his Tesla trunk. And yeah. Anyway.
Very, very crazy and difficult scenario because there's a lot of facts here, there's a lot of evidentiary issues, and there's also a mountain of evidence.
Yo, I media trained you. That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
And that's the first thing I want to address when we're looking at...
Bro, I still think he did it because she was definitely gonna maybe he's gonna break up with her and she didn't want that. And she was like, I'm gonna tell everybody something about us. And then he's like, no. I don't know. Maybe she wanted to go public with their relationship and he didn't want it to be. And he decided, to do what he did. I don't know. What's y'all's theories? Let me know in the comments below.
At this case.
Either way, it doesn't matter. Either way, it's fucked up. Like it's...
So the first thing we get
she didn't deserve this shit, bro.
And this is Celeste dying by being stabbed by an object that caused
penetrating
wounds to her torso and caused a liver injury. Toxicology found she was presumptively positive for benzos and meth, MDMA, that's ecstasy as well. I have personally spoken to witnesses who told me David used hard drugs with them. Well, this is definitely believable. Obviously, if you're going to the murder level, then obviously if you're willing to murder somebody, then obviously using drugs would not be a far stretch from there. Definitely can see that. One of the other interesting things is the references that David makes in many of his music videos and his statements about, death and about people.
Nigga wrote a song. He wrote a song. Like, all right, bro. I'm glad they caught him.
People passing away, and also even in one of his music videos where you have a image of a girl who looks very, very much like Celeste being stabbed. Kind of all these references, all this evidence is definitely going to be brought up. And once again, it seems like he essentially was telling on himself throughout
pretty much
the presentation and his public appearances around the death of Celeste. Another thing to get to now is getting to
like, honestly, it's kind of crazy that he put that music out at that time too, like knowing what he was. All right, bro. Like knowing what he was gonna do, he put that music out at the same time. Like he really told on himself to be. He wanted to be telling on himself from the jump. I ain't gonna lie. That's what it seems like to me. He didn't want to get away with this. He wanted to. He wanted to be found. He wanted to be caught. This is just for him. It was like his life's work, probably. You know what I'm saying? Like his life's work as in a musical way, like his masterpiece.
Went down on the actual night, and this
I don't think he actually cares if he got caught.
This is a very interesting scenario because it paints a picture of not, David doing this alone or David being in a situation where no one saw him, but it paints a more complicated picture. So it says here on April 24th, 2025, just hours after prosecutors alleged that David Anthony Burke, killed Celeste Rivas Hernandez, his management held a Withered album release in Los Angeles beginning at 8 p.m. David then took a red-eye flight to New York afterwards. All of his managers were likely in LA for the party. The house that Celeste was lured to, according to prosecutors, was leased by his management company. So you're going to have some investigation there, of course. So the question is, who knew what and when did they know it? April 23rd and 24 were not quiet, uneventful day or nights. David had just performed at Coachella. His album was being released and a party was being held in his honor. There were people around him and he was the center of attention.
He chose that moment, like right before going to that to kill her. Was she gonna say something? Was she gonna say something he didn't want her to say? Was she gonna go public with their relationship and he didn't want that? Was it something like that, or was it something like completely different? Because he's got to have all his eyes on him. That would have been a perfect time for her to tell whatever she needed to tell. If she needed to tell him anything.
It is difficult to believe he had much time completely alone. Who knew what and when? And that's a very, very good question. And that's something that the defense attorney that was hired by David, very, very expensive attorney, Blair Burke, who is very famous for handling high-profile celebrity cases, she's going to try to interject maybe doubt, try to interject, a timeline here, alibis. But all of that in the world is not going to get over mountains and mountains of potential evidence, especially as to the inappropriate images and the possession of those, which once again is massive. So looking here, they say a couple of other items of interest from the David hearing this morning. The assistant district attorney confirmed there were 3 separate investigative grand juries convened in November 2025, December 2025, and February 2026. She also stated that the defense would need to provide a 10 terabyte drive for David's iCloud account alone. Additional search warrants were served on phones, tablets, and other devices at the time of David's arrest.
And
hold on. What?
And a copy of the complaint, and we would ask the people respectfully to produce discovery at the earliest opportunity.
Your Honor, as I indicated to counsel, there's approximately 40 terabytes of discovery in this case.
God
40
damn.
terabytes?
That's what I was saying.
Now, while XQC may be shocked that there are 40 terabytes of evidence that is going to be presented in this case and gone over in this case, if this is a case, once again, involving multiple devices,
what was in this
iCloud uploads, it's a relationship that was going on for a while. You've got potential music videos. You've got other things going to be entered in there.
That's true.
I'm not shocked about 40 terabytes of evidence.
I am. God damn. Like, think what's in there that he doesn't want you to know.
I'm shocked about is at this point in the trial, we haven't seen a waiving of speedy
I mean, he was dating a minor. You might want to check his computers.
Trial. So the defense has not waived their right to speedy trial, and the prosecution has said, hey, we're ready to go forward in 60 days. So neither side is really letting up on speeding trial or fighting back on speedy trial, which is absolutely insane to go over 40 terabytes of evidence and try to have all that reviewed within 60 days. I imagine that as we get closer to that 60-day deadline for speedy trial, once again, everyone has that right to a speedy trial. You have to actually waive that right. Once we get closer to that deadline, I'm thinking we're going to see the defense go and waive that right and extend that. I really cannot see this thing going forward in 60 days, although I'm not surprised about the mountain of evidence. The next thing I want to bring up is my judgment. So let's move.
God damn, bro. 40, but still, come on, bro. 40 terabytes of evidence. What did you have on there?
Over to the judgment. So in this mountain of evidence against David, the 40 terabytes of inappropriate content, I think is what's going to...
It's all inappropriate shit. Holy... Bro, that's... Well, I'm not surprised because he was dating a minor.
Absolutely
so, makes
damn
sense.
him. Even though he hired a top-tier lawyer.
I believe the actual evidence
that's fucking nasty,
David
bro.
Did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, nor was he the cause of her death. And we would like to be able to have the evidence come into the light of day at the earliest opportunity.
The defense is going to be difficult.
She did not practice that speech, bro. She is not worried about getting him out of prison, bro. She is not worried about getting him out. She's not. Did you see? Like, she didn't practice that shit at all. She didn't practice that speech at all, bro. Like, if it was an important client, she would have practiced that shit. She would have made sure she got it right. She would have made sure there was no stuttering in her shit and her going like, nah, she wasn't professional with that shit at all, bro. She didn't really care. She did not even try. She does not. Nah, bro, he's done.
To the volume of evidence and publicity. He can't just bury this and make it go away, no pun intended. This is something that is already out there. It's beyond the kind of the point of no return. And he can be convicted on those images, on what he may have on those hard drives, the iCloud accounts. If he's got inappropriate images, then that is very much going to be able to put him away, perhaps even for longer than the homicide charges. So regardless of whether they can hit him on the homicide
40 fucking terabytes,
which we'll get to as the trial progresses, we'll see how much the prosecution can prove this decisively, how much they can pin up the timeline, where he was, etc. We're going to get into that, and we're going to see that as this trial progresses. But what I stop on here is the images. That is just a hard stop. If he was possessing those images, or on his drives, or on his iCloud, he's done. He's cooked. He's absolutely
40 terabytes,
finished.
bro.
And that's a slam dunk that they really don't have to debate about or do anything else about. So we could see this case, and I can foresee this case because it is such a slam dunk there being some sort of perhaps really, really high plea deal or really insane plea deal that comes out that he probably will, reject one way or another. We'll see how that shakes out, but it could keep him in there for life, for absolute life, for the amount of potential images he's got there, regardless of the homicide. I think the homicide, we may have with a good defense attorney the ability to fight that, but with the images, that's just not going to happen. But I want to know what you guys think about the David case and how you think it's going to shake out.
Yeah, his attorney didn't give a shit, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Didn't look like she gave a shit at all. Y'all saw that shit. She did not practice her speech at all. She was like, well, I'm just here because I'm supposed to be here. Ah, shit, man. Y'all woke me up early too. I had this other thing I'm supposed to do in like 10 minutes. What time is it? Can we wrap this up? Like, she was done, bro. But anyway, that's it for this video. Let me know what y'all think about it in the comments below. Like I said, looks like I was right about David. And he's getting what he deserves. Finally, right? Yeah. All right. Peace.